Honorable Professor Stephanou, thank you for the honor of having you here in the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy in Berlin, and of course for your keynote speech. I would like to ask you a few questions in order to hear your thoughts and your opinion on certain issues.
So, Professor, what impact does higher education have on national cultural diplomacy? Do you think that in Greece cultural diplomacy can provide solutions for certain issues?
Well, to start with cultural diplomacy, as I said, I'm an engineer, so it's another field than my field, but I think it's a very important issue that everybody knows something about that. So I think education is pretty well connected with cultural diplomacy. The education of a country is related and is a very strong relationship with the culture of this country. So it's an interactive relationship. Therefore, I think it's a very important issue when we talk about cultural diplomacy to include also the education that is provided in a country, the science of the country, and many other issues that are related to the general sector of education.
How would you implement national cultural diplomacy, and what are the best means to do? Certainly in countries, for example, like Greece, where cultural diplomacy is not a wide-known term.
Well, it's not a wide-known term, and actually it's not a very organized activity. But I think Greece was, in the way it was done, applying a cultural diplomacy in the past and in the present, and it will be in the future because of its history. So the problem is that although Greece could be a very strong actor in this issue of cultural diplomacy, probably because of other problems, not now because of the crisis, problems that come from the past too, it's not as strong player as it could be. And there is another problem too, as we talked about education and cultural diplomacy. Whatever they say, I think Greek universities are good universities. Actually, the oldest universities in Greece are ranked within the 1.5% of the universities in the world, so that's a very important issue. And it's also to take into consideration the language, that it's not English, so it cannot be an easy internationalization in the Greek universities. So Greek universities could play an important role in cultural diplomacy, and they do it with their own means. The state is not helping to do that.
So the third question, environmental issues are of crucial importance in international relations. Do you think that culture can affect global marketing planning?
Marketing is affecting everything, and it's affected from everything. Yes, I think culture, okay, let's say that environmental issues now are also a cultural issue, because the way we behave, because of our culture, is influencing very much the environment and the environmental policy of the country. And for this reason, the way the people think about the environment, it will influence also the marketing issues in this place or in this country or whatever it is. So marketing is really everywhere. I have been very surprised where marketing comes because it's now a kind of social science or science, and has to take into consideration culture in every country. Marketing is promoting in different ways the same product in different countries of different cultures. We have seen that in countries where people have a strong feeling about environmental issues, marketing is different for the same product in another country where the people are less sensitive to environmental issues than elsewhere.
Since you have a scientific academic background, we would like to ask you if you consider that sustainable development can be perceived as the only viable way and solution in post-conflict countries, and if you think that cultural diplomacy can play a role in this reconstruction process.
Yeah, this is sustainable development. I think now it's accepted from everybody that it's an important issue. Actually, in the 70s or the 60s, where we had this separation of the world in capitalistic world and socialist world, one issue, ethical issue, was the democratization of production. Okay, so that people in asking for more products and bigger production in order all the people they get these consumer goods, etc., etc. So that made that we didn't pay the same attention. So the democratization of consumption of production was the big ethical issue, at least in the Western countries. That created the problems we know. Now, the ethical issue everywhere is the protection of the environment. And this is also a tool for imposing policies. For example, in Germany they have a very strong technology for the protection of the environment, and they have technologies that allow to produce without damaging the environment, or to produce products that they're environmental friendly. So if they have laws in Germany or in European Union that we can import products that fulfill the issue of protection of environment, this is a tool of not importing products that they don't want to import. So it's a very important issue in one hand, but it's also a political issue from the other hand. Now, in post-conflict countries, of course, sustainable development is very important because it's also uniting people for the common good, which is the environment. Pollution doesn't have now borders; it's going everywhere. And we need cooperation in order to avoid these problems, because we know we are producing the greenhouse gases, but other countries, they suffer more from this production than we are suffering by producing this CO, which is influenced probably in a very bad way a country in Africa than the producer of CO, which could be the United States or Europe.
And the last question, do you think there is environmentalism as politics of affluence? Do you that lead to a green capitalism?
Capitalism is not green or red or blue. It's capitalism, and capitalism is seeking for profit. Of course, there are countries, Sweden is a capitalist country, Germany is a capitalist country, that they pay a lot of attention to environment because it's a question of survival. So I think one important issue is that the mode of capitalism is what we learned, at least some years ago, is gain. Now we think that people living and politicians living in capitalist countries, they think more and more about this.